Okay, then we'll start with our class today. So, as Charles Lamb, right? And his two essays in block 3, lost unit, Charles Lamb. So, before going into his detailed essays, let us have a brief discussion about what is an essay. So, what is an essay? An essay is a short piece of writing that presents an argument, a perspective, or a narrative based on the author's personal reflections, analysis, or experiences. So usually we might have experienced writing essays in our school days. We'll be given a topic and we have to write it on it. So what does it mean? What is our view about it? So essay was developed in that way. So usually it is personal reflections on anything. Subject could be anything, or analysis or experiences. Or it could be an argument or just a perspective or a narrative. Sometimes it could act as an advice, a piece of advice. For example, famous essayist. Who is our famous essayist? Just we have read in our syllabus, Sir Francis Bacon is a popular essayist of friendship, right? Of studies we have read. So like that. Then what was the difference between Bacon and Charles Lamb? Bacon wrote essays on general topics. He was a mastermind of essay. His essays were quite popular, and it is very profound. Each and every line gives us a profound insights on everything. Then what is the importance of or the peculiarity of Charles Lamb? So, Charles Lamb as an essayist. Let us observe Charles Lamb essays. So, Lamb occupies a unique position in the history of English essays. Though he began his literary career as a poet, he is remembered today for his invaluable essays. The essays of Elia. As yesterday we came to know that Elia is his pen name. He wrote essays or his under the name of Elia. And the last essays of Elia. He is an eminent essayist of the early 19th century and belongs to the group of romantic essays, where Sir Francis belongs to the early period. So Lamb belongs to early 19th century. And he belongs to romantic age. He has often been called the prince of all England's essays so far produced. Hugh Walker calls him the essayist par excellence, who should be taken as a model. We may not find him the massive genius of Bacon or the ethereal flights of Thomas Browne. Here we're talking about Thomas Browne and Bacon. We know Bacon already, we have studied. Thomas Browne, his themes, his subjects are also quite profound to understand, because more than the realistic aspect to the understanding of a common man, he writes essays, quite profound, important, and genius. And next, the brilliant lucidity of Addison. Joseph Addison, Steele, father of satire, essayist. They wrote essays, chronicle essays. Addison also quite important author. Or the vigorous energy of Dr. Johnson. Another we have Johnson, writer. And these are all the popular essayists who developed their own genre, who marked okay, who printed their significance, their style, their performance, their mark of genius in the essays. So what makes Charles Lamb different and peculiar is Charles Lamb wrote essays based on his personal experiences, day-to-day life. Not only his personal experiences, he exposed day-to-day life activities, common emotions, common man's, dreams, his aspirations, his solitude, his melancholy. All these subjects became quite popular through the essays of Charles Lamb. So, what is the difference is self-reflection in his essays. Charles Lamb essays are mostly self-reflective. So why we are talking about Charles Lamb and as an essayist is most of the essays deals with love, friendship, humanity, kindness, day-to-day activities, common man's problems, pleasures, and all that. So our essay here, Dream Children. So the title itself signifies their dream. So the author or the speaker of the essay, he is dreaming. And in his dream, a state of dream. Dream children, a reverie. So reverie is a state where you are not sleeping, but you're almost dreaming. You're almost dreaming. So now author itself, it is autobiographical. It is said that it is autobiographical essay. Charles Lamb is in a state of dreaming. And now he's talking to his children, their dream children, two children. And now he's sharing his experiences with his children. That is the background of the essay. So Charles Lamb's most famous essays first published in 1822 in the London Magazine. It is a poignant and deeply personal piece that blends nostalgia and imagination and a sense of loss. So he remembers his past experiences, his childhood experiences with his siblings, with his grandmother, grandparents, and their mansion, a large, huge building, their home, and loss of his siblings. So let us go through the summary. The essay begins with Lamb writing under his pseudonym, Ilya, describing a scene where he tells the stories to his two imaginary children, John and Alice. So remember the names, John and Alice. These children are not real, but are creations of Lamb's imagination, representing the children he never had. He wanted to get married, but he didn't marry. He wanted to have his own family children, but he did not. He didn't have. He did not have his own life. So now he's writing essay, imagining he has two children. As Lamb narrates his stories, he reflects on his own childhood and family. He speaks of his grandmother, Field, the housekeeper at a grand mansion and known for her piety and benevolence. So she was the housekeeper for a very great house. And they used to go there and they used to spend time there. Lamb describes the mansion in vivid detail, recalling the rooms, the furniture, and the gardens, creating a nostalgic picture of a past and he cherishes how huge the building was, how the gardens were, and he started describing the description of his childhood. Lamb also reminds us about his brother John, who was lively and energetic in his youth. However, Lamb notes with a tinge of sadness how his brother's health declined over time. He shares memories of their adventures and their bond, emphasizing the depth of his affection for his brother. So he describes how strong he was, how healthy he was, how handsome he was, but unfortunately he dies of an ill health. The narrative shifts to Lamb's own experiences of love and loss. He mentions Alice, a woman he loved deeply but could not marry. This unfulfilled love adds a layer of melancholy to the essay as Lamb reflects on what might have been. So he experiences his sadness towards this period because he couldn't marry his lady love. As the reverie continues, Lamb's imaginary children ask him questions about the people and events he has described. However, as the essay draws to a close, Lamb wakes from his daydream to the reality that his children are mere figments of his imagination. The dreamlike quality of the essay dissolves, leaving Lamb alone with his memories and regrets. That's how the essay ends. So, themes that we can observe. Dream Children, a reverie, touches on several themes, nostalgia and memory. The essay is nostalgic and Lamb reflects on his childhood, family, and past experiences. So, you might get a question that Dream Children is nostalgia and a memory. Based on this theme, write a question, an essay. So, you have to analyze how Charles Lamb is remembering and how he is sharing his childhood memories with his dream children. Love and loss. Lamb's reflections on his lost love, Alice, and the death of his brother add a poignant sense of loss to the essay. Imagination and reality. The blending of imagination and reality highlights Lamb's longing for a family and the life he never had. Melancholy. The essay is imbued with a sense of melancholy as Lamb grapples with his unfulfilled desires and the passage of time. So these are the themes that you could explain. Dream Children, a Reverie is a beautifully crafted essay that captures the essence of Lamb's reflective and nostalgic nature. Through his imaginative storytelling, Lamb explores themes of love, loss, and the passage of time, leaving readers with a profound sense of the emotional richness of his inner world. Most of his essays deals with his past memories. That makes him special as an essayist. Old China. This is our second essay. The author's past, particularly focusing on the modest pleasures and contentment that he and his cousin Bridget, she is Lamb's sister, Mary, experienced during their younger days. The essay opens up Lamb reflecting on a time when they were not wealthy but found joy and fulfillment in small, inexpensive pleasures. It's true, right? If you observe children, they don't mind what are the good or what are the bad, what are expensive, inexpensive, right? They don't mind at all. They take pleasure. They take pleasure in each and every small thing. They know how to enjoy the beauty of life. Even small petty things also makes them happy. So just like everybody's childhood, this Charles Lamb and his sister, he loves his sister very much. So now he's sharing his and his sisters how together they used to play, how together they used to go to the old China market. I mean, it's a street where all the things were sold. China is famous for its crockery and flower vases and wall decoratives and all that. China's Chinese art is quite popular even today also. And you have even bone china. So this is a special material only which is made in China. So Chinese has a different art, very beautiful art and all that. Even in Europe also, there is a huge, large market and liking for Chinese art. So as children, they used to go to the market and they used to enjoy each and everything, even though they were unable to buy it. They used to roam around. They used to take pleasure in watching and observing that market. So he remembers all those experiences, how they used to run around the streets and little shells, okay, and all these things. That just he explains through the essay. Just go through that, and you will also enjoy the essay. It's very easy to understand also. Nostalgia for simplicity. Lamb and Bridget fondly remember their former lifestyle, where they derived happiness from simple things, such as a good book, a cup of tea, or a pleasant walk. They contrast these modest pleasures with their current, more affluent but less satisfying life. Now they're comparing their life. They're comparing, and they're not happy now. They could afford many things. They're not that much poor. They're quite much rich enough to buy whatever they want, but still they're not happy and satisfied. So rather than they're bringing their childhood memories, just they could take pleasure over a cup of tea also, and even reading a good book or just a pleasant walk. So now they are remembering their past childhood. So value of contentment. Another theme is value of contentment. So through his personal experiences, Charles Lamb is giving a message that you should learn how to have pleasure in simple and petty issues and things in life. Aspiration is good, but too much aspirations, too many aims makes us unpleasant. So we should know, as a human, we should know the value of contentment. The essay, Contentment is Satisfaction. The essay emphasizes that true contentment does not come from wealth or material possessions. It's a great message, isn't it? So we know that. Obviously, we know that. Everybody knows, but we don't practice it. So again, he is re-emphasizing that we should know how to take pleasure and contentment. So material possessions and wealth can never give you happiness and contentment. From one's inner attitude and ability to appreciate the small joys of life. So contentment never comes with wealth or material possessions. Contrasting past and present. Lamb contrasts their former poverty with their current affluence. Now they are rich. So now they are comparing. Comparing is contrasting. Nothing that they were perhaps happier when they had less. So now they are saying that now we are happy. But earlier also, we were happy. Even though we were poor, we were happy. This reflection highlights the idea that increased wealth does not necessarily lead to increased happiness. Art and aesthetics. Lamb discusses their appreciation of art, particularly old China dishes, which they admired and valued despite their low cost. Old China became a symbol of the beauty and joy they found in simple everyday objects. So this old China, basically crockery sets of China, very famous. So they are not that much expensive, but still they're beautiful. And they have a great art, the simplicity, the art and all that. Now, through this essay, He is explaining and glorifying the beauty, the art, okay, of China crockery, China dishes. That is old China. Conclusion. In old China, Charles Lamb delivers a powerful reflection on the nature of happiness and the value of simplicity. Through his nostalgic recollections, he starkly contrasts the allure of material wealth and the true riches of life. So, observe the words starkly contrast means comparison. The allure of material wealth, allure of material wealth, the luxury of the material wealth. We have riches, bungalows, cars, and all that. Today, even we are enjoying the material wealth, even today. So that with richness of life. So that never comparable with the true richness of life, which he suggests lies in the ability to find joy in modest everyday experiences. So he says that everyday experiences and the modest behavior and our humble behavior towards our life, if we value our time, if we value our childhood, okay. So day by day, we are growing old and we cannot bring back even a single day, single hour. So we are losing the enjoyment of life rather than we are running after the material pleasures. So see, this poem is, this essay is relevant even today, forever, in fact. That is the greatness of Charles Lamb's essays. So the times at the time in the 19th, early 18th centuries and 19th centuries, when he wrote about the true happiness, the material wealth, and all that, even they are true even this day also. So we should learn how to take pleasure and contentment, and we should know how to value our life. So this is the message from old China. Right. So now we should go to block 4. Now, block 4, 19th century. So we completed with the 18th century literature, popular genres, popular writers, and their works. Let's have a review in 19th century also. Victorian age. We are dealing today with the Victorian age, which is a popular era. Why it is popular? After Queen Elizabeth I age period. We have read Elizabethan age where drama is developed, essays developed, sonnets, and we have seen the period of Renaissance in Elizabeth era. And now Victorian age. So Victorian age really, it marks the change of modern era. So many scientific advancements, culture has changed due to the industrialization. So there is lot is happening in England. So let us observe what are the changes during Victorian age. The Victorian age, which lasted from 1837 to 1901, almost how many years? 63, 64 years, long reign. During Queen Victoria's reign was a period of significant transformation in Britain. This era witnessed profound changes in nearly every aspect of British life, including its society, economy, politics, and culture. So, historical context. Queen Victoria's reign. Queen Victoria ascended to the throne in 1837 and ruled until she died in 1901. Her reign marked a period of stability and relative peace, known as Pax Britannica. That is very contented and very happy and very stable, yet developed. So after so many wars, the uncertainty, plague, and so many things happened in Britain. But in the reign of Queen Victoria, of course, there are so many wars, but still the development took place, which allowed Britain to become a global superpower. So it became superpower. We know about Britishers, right? They established their colonies throughout the world. In 18th and 19th centuries, Britishers were there all over the world. In the name of business, they came and they occupied because they have technology, modern military power, and they occupied, they invaded almost each and every part of the world. They left their mark on almost each great civilization. So this period talks about mostly the colonization and the scientific technology. Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution began in the late 18th century and continued to progress rapidly during the Victorian age. This period saw the rise of factories, mass production, and significant technological advancements such as the steam engine, the telegraph, and the railway system. So they developed railways so to transport goods from one place to another. And the steam engine, because of steam engine, the railways developed. Telegraph, they used to telegraph. Have you seen the telegraph? So if like pager, it works. So you have to send a message in code by telephone, and it receives and it writes on the paper, telegraph in a coded language. That's how they used to communicate very easily. Urbanization. As industrialization progressed, people moved from rural areas to urban centers in search of work. Obviously, this is happening even today also. This led to the rapid growth of cities, which often resulted in overcrowded living conditions and poor public health. So, the public health was upset, and pandemics and diseases spreaded. And no doubt, doctors worked, researchers worked, and invented some medicines also, and vaccines also. So social changes, class structure. The Victorian era had a rigid class structure, the aristocracy and the upper middle class, consisting of industrialists and professionals. So this is the upper class, obviously. Upper middle class and aristocracy who rules and who are the bureaucrats of maybe in the administrative positions. And upper middle class consists of industrialists and professionals like doctors, writers, judiciary. All these people comes under professionals. Were at the top, while the working class and the poor were at the bottom. The middle class expanded significantly during this period. In the last chapter, we discussed about this thing, middle class. That's why novel developed and encouraged, and so many novelists arose in the 18th century and later part of the early part of the 19th century also. So this is a social change and the social structure. Reforms and social issues. Social reform was a significant aspect of the Victorian age. Reforms in labor laws, so how they are working, how many hours they are working, and is there any equal wage for men and women, and child labor. So the writers, particularly writers of this age, they rejected child labor. So children are not supposed to take into the work. That started in 19th century, and education were introduced to address the harsh conditions faced by the working class. So education, writers took voice, they raised their voice against the supremacy of education, the autonomy of education, right? So education should be provided to all. And so these are some reforms started in the society. The factory acts, because industrialization is developed. So obviously there is a wars within the society, in the working class and in the middle class, I mean between the owners and the workers. So they introduced some factory acts, for example, aimed to improve factory working conditions. So some precautions should be given because of the people who are working in the mines. So some security and physical security, like having helmets, and they should be given some appropriate transport to go into the mines, and whenever they are working, so their life is in danger. So what there are some medical province, they should provide some medicine facility and all that. So they improved some social reforms and some laws also. And urbanization. As industrialization progressed, people moved from rural areas and urban centers. Oh, just now we finished this. Next, women's roles. The role of women in society began to be questioned and gradually transformed. So now what the women should do? Earlier, there was no question of that, because now the middle class is rapidly growing. Women are also getting education. So the educated women, what should they do? What is their role? That became the question. While the ideal Victorian woman was expected to be devoted to home and family, the era also saw the emergence of the women's suffrage movement and increased opportunities for women in education and employment. As now they are getting education. Earlier, even though people who are educated, they belong to elite class. So the no need to work, because they have their own fortune. They are rich, educated, they have their own kind of enjoyment. But now, people of middle class and lower middle class started emerging. Now, if one person is earning, that is not enough for the family. So now, the educated women, what do? So they started questioning their role, their identity, and slowly this identity got succeeded, and women started working. Women started getting education and employment. Cultural developments, literature. So Victorian literature is characterized by its focus on social issues, morality, and realism. Prominent authors include Charles Dickens, who highlighted the plight of the poor, the Bronte sisters, who explored complex emotional and psychological landscapes, and Thomas Hardy, known for his critical view of Victorian society. Really, they are the good writers who explored the society and who instructed the society on what grounds they should get change. Arts and architecture. The Gothic revival was a prominent architecture style of the era, reflected in buildings such as the Houses of Parliament. The Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood influenced Victorian painting, emphasizing detail, vibrant colors, and complex compositions. So Pre-Raphaelite, you might have studied. So it is a literary movement in the art and literature also. So construction, architecture, art, and literature. So everything got developed, changed almost. Science and technology. The Victorian age was a great scientific discovery and innovation period. Charles Darwin's theory of evolution. You know about Charles Darwin's theory of evolution, which changed the entire world's perspective of biology, human conditions, how humans evolved. And in fact, it questioned the authority of the religious realm, isn't it? How man has evolved. Charles Darwin is saying that man is evolved from chimp or monkey. But religion says that God created man directly. So it is obviously, this is the point where the religion was questioned, the reason was answered and supported, and at some points and levels, even it is also failed. So published on the origin of species. Remember this book? This is the great adventurous book, and which divided the history into before this book and after this book. I mean, before his invention and after his invention. Challenged traditional views on the creation and development of life. Advances in medicine, such as antiseptics and vaccinations, improved public health. Political landscape. Empire and colonialism. The British Empire expanded significantly during the Victorian Age, becoming the largest empire in history. After, next to Roman Empire, British Empire is the largest thing, which almost invaded every part of the world. This period of imperial expansion brought wealth and resources to Britain, but also led to exploitation and conflict in the colonized regions. So Britishers becoming rich and rich. And because of this over-expansion, England appointed IAS officers, military officers throughout the world. So now Queen is out of their scene and they are becoming the local authorities, and they are becoming cruel. They started exploiting, becoming brutal, treating humans, their colonizers as like animals. And the brutal behavior of Britishers also increased. Political reforms. The Victorian era saw significant political reforms, including the expansion of the electoral franchise. The Reform Acts of 1832, 1867, and 1884 progressively extended voting rights to a larger portion of the male population, although women did not gain the right to vote until the 20th century. So until 20th century, women did not give, but in 20th century started, women also given importance and they got equal right to vote. And the voting system also brought into the scene in England. Economic developments, free trade and economy. The Victorian economy was marked by a commitment to free trade, the repeal of the Corn Laws, and so all these economical developments, you need to understand that free trade and economy, they have gone throughout the world. And without buying, initially they used to buy, but later they started bullying the local people and they started deceiving. They started, ruling, and they are bringing economy at a free of cost. They started trading even humans also, animals, ivory, species, gold, gems, almost all parts. They are getting the more and more valuable things. So they developed their global trade networks. Banking and finance. Developing banking and finance systems facilitated economic growth. The London Exchange and financial institutions like the Bank of England started banking system. And conclusion, the Victorian age was a period of immense change and development that laid the foundations for the modern British. Its legacy is evident in its lasting impact on the social structures, cultural achievements, and technological advancements. The era's complexities, marked by progress and challenges, continue to be subject of fascination and study. Here we comes to our Unit 17, Charles Dickens' Heart of Darkness. It is a very beautiful novel. It is very important novel, and it deals with the theme of, the brutal rule, ruthless rule of Britishers in African countries. Charles Dickens is a prominent writer of Victorian era, birth and early life. So he was born in England. Dickens was the second of 8 children. His father, John Dickens, was a naval clerk with significant financial difficulties, which influenced Dickens' works. So even though he's educated and he has got job, due to their financial difficulties, they had to face some problems that influenced Dickens very much in his writings. Education and early career. Dickens' formal education was limited and sporadic due to his family's financial troubles. At the age of 12, he was forced to work at a blacking factory when his father was imprisoned for debt. This experience left a lasting impression on him, shaping his views on social reform and child labor, which are recurrent themes in his works. Literary career. Early success. Dickens began his literary career as a journalist writing under the pseudonym Bowes. His name is Bowes. His pseudonym is, he wrote his writings under this name. His first major success came with the publication of the Pickwick Papers, which became widely popular. And his major works include Oliver Twist. So this Oliver Twist is very, very popular because it focuses harsh conditions of workhouses and criminal underworld. So how they were treated, how humans were forcibly brought into slavery, how they used to treat the slaves and the mistreating. So that was very heart-touching and heartbreaking even. Nicholas Nickleby. So in this work, he critiques the abusive boarding schools of the time. A Christmas Carol, David Copperfield, Bleak House, Hard Times, and Great Expectations, A Tale of Two Cities. Public readings and tours, his later years, Dickens embarked on reading tours, both in the UK and the United States, where he performed dramatic readings of his work. These tours were immensely popular and further solidified his status as a literary celebrity. So he used to roam here and there and he used to give presentations, performances, his works. So Charles Dickens died on June 9th, 1870. And his final novel is unfinished, The Mystery of Edwin Drood, unfinished. He was buried in the Poets' Corner of the Westminster Abbey, an honor reflecting his significant contribution to English literature. So this Westminster Abbey has so many corners like a poetic corner, prose, and all that. It is an honor. If we bury somebody in there, in this Westminster, it itself represents that it is an honor. So legacy. Dickens' works have never been out of print and continue to be widely read and studied. His novels have been adapted into numerous films, television series, and stage productions. Dickens' influence extends beyond literature. His keen observations on social issues have inspired reform and continue to resonate on discussions on social justice and human rights. Charles Dickens remains one of English literature's most important and beloved figures. His ability to blend entertainment with powerful social critique has ensured his lasting impact on readers and society. So it is easy to write. Usually writings and movies, dramas and all this for enjoyment. But through enjoyment, not only enjoyment, but if they write for instruction, they write for to express their views on what is happening in the society, what should be changed, how it should be changed. So giving suggestions and, the instructions, it is a very great thing and it is only possible with the literature. Heart of Darkness. Heart of Darkness is a novella by Joseph Conrad, first published in 1899. The story is a complex exploration of imperialism, colonialism, and human nature. So, yes. So here we go through the. Okay. So excuse me for one thing. I mistakenly took some slides from another PPT. Actually, it is a hard times that we have to go through, but I kept it on Heart of Darkness. So maybe next class we'll go through with that work. Okay. Please excuse me for that, and we will go through Alfred Lord Tennyson. Hard times we will deal in next class. So Alfred Lord Tennyson. Alfred Lord Tennyson was one of the most celebrated poets of the Victorian era, known for his evocative verse and mastery of meter and form. His work often explored the themes of nature, mythology, and the human condition, resonating deeply with his time's societal and emotional currents. So, name Alfred Lord Tennyson. So, he is also known as first Baron Tennyson. So, he was born on Somersby, Lincolnshire, England, died on October 1892, Aldworth, Surrey, England. Occupation is poet. His notable works include In Memoriam, AHS, The Charge of the Light Brigade, so Idylls of the King, Ulysses, The Lady of Shalott. So his awards, Poet Laureate of Great Britain and Ireland, both Great Britain and Ireland, and Baron Tennyson of Aldworth and Freshwater, that they are his awards. So early life, Alfred Tennyson was born into a large family, the fourth of 12 children. His father, George Clayton Tennyson, was a rector, and his mother, Elizabeth Fish Tennyson, was a vicar's daughter. So both of the parents belongs to very good high-born families, and both belongs to clergymen. Vicar is a local authority of the church who looks after a church, even a big church. And his father was a rector, and he's a clergyman. He was also disciplinary. He looks after the disciplines of the churches. Alfred's early education was at home, where he was encouraged to explore literature. At the age of 12, he wrote 6,000-line epic poem. Education. In 1827, Tennyson attended Trinity College, Cambridge. There, he joined the literary club, the Apostles, and befriended Arthur Henry Hallam, his close best friend. The poem that we are going to read, A.H. Hallam, who would become a significant influence on his life and work. Tennyson's first publication, a collection of poems titled Poems by Two Brothers, was a collaboration with his brother Charles. Poet Laureate. Tennyson was appointed Poet Laureate of the United Kingdom in 1850, succeeding William Wordsworth. After William Wordsworth's death, Poet Laureate Tennyson is elected as Poet Laureate. His tenure as laureate was marked by his ability to capture the spin of the age in his verse, and he became a voice for national sentiment during key moments such as the death of Prince Albert and Crimean War. So he started writing on the prince and about the war conditions. Later life. In 1884, Tennyson was made a peer, becoming Baron Tennyson of Aldworth. It is a title actually. And Freshwater. Freshwater is a place. He continued to write poetry throughout his life, producing works like Idylls of the King and a series of 12 narrative poems based on the legend of King Arthur. Tennyson died in 1892 and was buried in Westminster Abbey's Poets' Corner. Style and influence. Tennyson's poetry is noted for its rich imagery, melodic quality, and exploration of themes such as love, loss, and nature. His works often reflect the scientific and philosophical uncertainties of the Victorian era. Tennyson remains one of the most popular and frequently quoted British poets, with his works continuing to be studied and appreciated for their emotional depth and technical mastery. So, his poem is In Memoriam, A.H. It is an elegy. So, what's an elegy? It's a genre of literature. Elegy is a poem. An elegy is a poem of serious reflection, especially one mourning the loss of someone who died. Observe the spelling mourning. M-O-U-R-N-I-N-G. Mourning, that is weeping, crying on somebody's death. That is mourning. Elegies are defined by their subject matter and don't have to follow any specific form in terms of meter, rhyme, or structure. So they don't form. It could be any form they can adopt and they can write elegy. Because elegies focus on emotional experience of the poet, they are generally written in the first person narrative. Typically, elegies end on a somewhat hopeful note, with the poet reconciling him or herself to the death and ultimately discovering some form of consolation. For modern and contemporary poets, the elegy is a poem that deals with the subjects of death and mortality, but has no set form, meter, or rhyme scheme. So earlier the rules were rigid, but later now we can write in any form. We can adopt any form and we can write a poem like elegy. So if we have to mourn something, if we are feeling sad about something, then if you write a poem in first person narration, mostly first person narration, and it is an elegy. In Memoriam, AHH. In Memoriam is a long poem written by Alfred Lord Tennyson over 17 years and published in 1850. It consists of 133 cantos and serves as an elegy for Tennyson's close friend, Arthur Henry Hallam. That is AHH, Arthur Henry Hallam, who died suddenly at the age of 22. The poem explores themes of grief, loss, faith, and the search for meaning in the face of personal tragedy. So why it is famous? If this person is writing about the loss of his friend, then why we should read it? Why we should read it is because it talks about not just personal tragedy, it talks about grief, loss, faith of a common human. So death is inevitable and it occurs in every man's life. If we die, we cannot know anything. We don't know anything. But if our dear ones die, it is a great loss in our life. It is a turning point in our life. So how we have to deal with it? Okay. What we have to learn? How we should continue our life. So that's why it is popular, important. Structure. The poem is divided into 133 cantos of varying lengths. It is written in iambic treatment, tetrameter quatrains with an ABBA rhyme scheme, a form known as the in memoriam stanza. Summary of key sections. Prologue. The poem starts with prologue. Tennyson addresses Jesus Christ, expressing faith in the soul's immortality and eventual reunion with the loved one. So now his prologue, he's invocating Jesus Christ. He's praying to God, expressing his faith. What is that? Soul's immortality. So soul is immortal. That means there is no death to soul. Body may die, we may die, but our soul cannot die. So his friend's soul is immortal. He is there at Jesus Christ. He is confident. The poet is confident because his friend has gone to God. Now he is also expecting reunion with his loved one. So when he dies, that means the Lord Tennyson, when he dies, he wants to go to God and he wants to meet his friend. Early cantos 1 to 27. Tennyson recounts his immediate reactions to Hallam's death, his overwhelming grief, and the struggle to accept the reality of the loss. It happens with everybody. So in the cantos, almost he dedicated 30 cantos over his friend's loss, how he feels, how he gone into depression. overwhelming grief, his mourning, how he is feeling, how he couldn't accept that, how he has to continue his life without his friend. And the middle part, these cantos explore Tennyson's philosophical and theological reflections on life, death, and the universe. So here now he's slowly coming into the reality. He wants to accept the change and he wants to come out of that loss. Then he's trying. So what he's doing, he is exploring. What is he exploring? Philosophical and theological reflections of life and death. So why God is being so unjustice? Why he has taken my friend? He's so good. He's so calm, cool, but still he died. Why? So is God injustice? And why? So these kind of thinking, usually we also feel the same. We question the authority. We question the autonomy of God's power, nature's cycle, right? So we question, first of all, because when we lose somebody who is very dear, so we feel the same. Now he is also questioning. He's expressing doubt and faith at the same time. He contemplates the nature of existence and the possibility of life after death. Now he is trying to believe. He is trying to say, even to the audience also. So there is life even after death. So don't take death as a terrible one. Okay. Just it is a transmission. It is a transmission. So we have to think about what would be the status of our soul after death. What is the meaning of end? Is there any end or is there any continuity? So what would happen after when we die, after the death? So such kind of philosophical things he discusses in this poem. So later cantos, Tennyson finds a sense of peace and reconciliation. So finally he comes to a reconciliation. He expresses hope. He expresses continuity. He reflects on the enduring impact of Hallam's spirit and their deep friendship. So now he's reflecting what is the impact of Hallam's spirit. So what is his spirit doing? What he's expecting, he's thinking about the soul of his friend in the later cantos. So in the final ones, the poet looks to the future with renewed hope, considering the progression of human life and the ultimate reunion with the departed. Now he is expecting hope. What is the hope of the poet? That after death, he is going to meet his friend. So with this, he is accepting the fate. He is accepting God's decision. And he is submitting himself to the supernatural, omnipotent power of God. And now he is expecting future reunion and the good period over after his death. So this is the transition that you can see throughout the poem. From grief, doubt to faith. Epilogue. The poem concludes with Tennyson's sister's marriage, which symbolizes the continuity of life and the ongoing cycle of love and loss. So he concludes the poem. That's why he took 17 years to finish the poem. So he developed, he transfused, he accepted change, he matured his thoughts, and finally he comes to a conclusion with a hope. So with his sister's marriage, he's expecting a reunion, and it is a cycle of love and loss. So after the loss, now he's seeing a good thing, a good one, an auspicious thing in his life. So conclusion, In Memoriam, AHH is a profound meditation on death and mourning, capturing the complexity of human emotions in the face of loss. It is considered one of Tennyson's greatest works and a masterpiece of Victorian poetry. The poem resonates with readers for its emotional depth, philosophical insights, and lyrical beauty. So, grief and mourning. This is the theme. The poem chronicles Tennyson's deep sorrow and the various stages of his grieving process. He expresses his profound sense of loss and the difficulty of coming to terms with Hallam's death. Another theme, faith and doubt. Obviously, he initially expresses doubt and faith both. He moves from despair and doubt towards a renewed, though complex faith in a benevolent divine order. See, he accepted the benevolent one's order, divine order. We should submit ourselves to the order of the nature. Nature and the natural world. Nature plays a significant role in the poem, symbolizing both the constancy and indifference of the natural order compared to human suffering, that is, life and death. Belief by faith. The poem acknowledges that some truths cannot be proven empirically. So it says that we cannot prove truths, right? It is a complex thing to understand, but we cannot prove any truth empirically. What is empirical study? So we examine and we experience and we come to a decision, either yes or no, true or false. And we take another example and we experience, we conduct some experiment and we'll come to a decision. So truth cannot be proven in this way. Science could be proved, but the truth, nature, God cannot be proved empirically. Tennyson embraces faith, believing in things beyond what he can see or demonstrate. So we cannot understand the death. What is the cycle? What is the law of life and death? Why some people die, even though they are too good? So usually we think that the rich people, they don't die. Poor people, they don't die. Sometimes these people at a very young age, they die. So many, why they are rich, why they are poor, why we are like this, why God made like this. So many doubts. So he says, he instructs humanity that Tennyson embraces faith, believing in things beyond he can see or demonstrate. We cannot see, we cannot demonstrate some things. He writes, by faith and faith alone embrace, believing where we cannot prove. So the things which we cannot prove, we have to believe them by faith. Reconciliation. Despite the doubt, Tennyson seeks reconciliation. He acknowledges human limitations, the impermanence of life, and the mystery of existence. So we cannot prove the truth. We cannot control the nature. We have limitations. Life is impermanent. Nobody knows when we die. Nobody knows why we die. And the mystery of existence, why we are living. We have no hope, we have nobody, but still we are living. So why? What is the mystery of existence? So such conditions he wants to explore. He wants to describe them in detail. The poem ultimately affirms both religious faith and faith in human progress. So finally he says, if somebody dies, if something we lose, which is important in our life, we should not stop. We should not stop. Hope and consolation. Despite his anguish, Tennyson ultimately finds a solace in the idea of an afterlife and the continuity of the human soul. The poem ends hopeful, suggesting that love and the human spirit transcend death. So it could defeat death. It could overcome loss. So joy should overcome loss. So as usual, the main themes, grief, loss, faith, and the search for meaning in a changing world. This is another theme, searching for meaning in a changing world. So famous lines from the poem, be near me when my light is low. And it's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. He's saying, even though you lose, even though you have the fear that you are going to lose, but it is better to have loved and lost. That means you should have a dear ones, your loved ones, family, friends, whoever, than never to have loved at all. Okay. So because you may think that it is the ultimate truth that we are going to lose somebody, it is not good to love at all. Tennyson grapples with the impermanence of life, the afterlife, and the enduring impact of friendship. His elegy combines personal emotion with broader reflections on existence. So this poem is a profound meditation on death and mourning, capturing the complexity of human emotions in the face of loss. So it is a complex human emotion. We feel doubt, we feel faith. So how we have to overcome, how we have to come to a decision, hope, how we should continue our life. We should not stop anywhere. That is his message. It is considered one of Tennyson's greatest works and a masterpiece of Victorian poetry. The poem resonates with readers for its emotional depth, philosophical insights, and lyrical beauty. So here we come to our next unit. Robert Browning, another great poem of the era. So his name is Robert Browning, and he was born in London, England, Camberwell. He died in Venice, Italy. Occupation, poet and playwright. So notable works, My Last Duchess, The Piper of Hamelin, The Ring and the Book. It is about a political issues. Porphyria's Lover, Men and Women. So his spouse is Elizabeth Barrett Browning. He married in 1846 and she died in 1861. And she is also a poet. So Robert Browning was born to Robert Browning Sr. His father is Robert Browning Sr., a bank clerk, and Sarah Anna Weirdman Browning. So raised in a household with a large library, he was exposed to literature early on and became a voracious reader. Browning was mostly educated at home, but briefly attended the University of London. So his early works include, and famous work includes, Pauline, A Fragment of Confession, Paracelsus. So these are his great works, and he also worked with Shelley and Byron. And they are his great influences. Shelley and Byron's works he worked on. Marriage to Elizabeth Barrett. She is also a poet. In 1846, Browning eloped with the poet Elizabeth Barrett, who was an invalid at the time. Actually, she got some disease and she was bedridden for some time, and later she developed. And Browning, Elizabeth Barrett Browning, she was quite rich. And they used to move from one place to another place, and they used to meet in poetic meetings, and the both of them fell in love and they got married, which is not maybe acceptable to the society. She is invalid at the time and she is quite rich, so they had to elope and they got married. And her father denied to give her own fortune, but still they could manage on their working. And the relationship profoundly influenced Browning's work, and his poetry during this period is marked by greater emotional depth and introspection. So major works and themes. Browning is known for his mastery of the dramatic monologue, a form in which a single character speaks to a silent audience. So what is this dramatic monologue? Dramatic monologue is a form of poetry. A single speaker would be there and he is talking to himself. He or she, they would be talking to themselves. And audience is silent, revealing their thoughts and feelings. This technique allowed Browning to psychological states and moral dilemmas. So his major work, My Last Duchess. This is a very popular poem. It is also a dramatic monologue. Men and Women. This is a collection. So demonstrating his interest in historical and legal complexities, The Ring and the Book. So after Elizabeth's death, Browning returned to England with his son Robert Weirdman Barrett Browning. He continued to write prolifically, producing significant works such as Dramatist Personae, The Ring and the Book, and he continued. Browning's poetry is characterized by its intellectual rigor, psychological insight, and linguistic innovation. His influence is seen in the works of later poets, particularly those interested in dramatic and narrative techniques. So he started the technique and it is later developed by many authors. Robert Browning died in Venice in 1889 and was buried in Westminster Abbey in Poets' Corner. His legacy endures through his contributions to English literature and his development of the dramatic monologue. He's the one who developed dramatic monologue. Andrea del Sarto. This is our poem, Andrea del Sarto. Andrea del Sarto, a dramatic monologue by Robert Browning, was published in 1855 as part of his collection, Men and Women. The poem is narrated by Andrea del Sarto, okay? And he's a painter. And he's a faultless painter for his technical skill. However, the poem explores the emotional and personal struggles behind his seemingly perfect art. So now this painter is the speaker and he is talking to himself. So plot summary, the poem is set in Andrea's studio. So this painter, he is in studio where he speaks to his wife, Lucrezia. Andrea reveals his inner turmoil through his monologue and reflects on his life, career, and relationship with Lucrezia. So now he's talking to his wife, imagining that he is talking, but his wife is not responding because this is a dramatic monologue. Only you have dialogues to this person. So opening scene, Andrea addresses Lucrezia, who is preoccupied and interested in him. He tries to engage her, expressing his love and devotion. He notes her disinterest but continues to speak, indicating his need to unburden himself. So now he is saying that his wife is not responding and she is not interested. Okay. And now he is expressing his anguish because he could not become a successful painter. So he wants to come out of that stress, but his wife is not responding. And he has done many things for his wife. But now she is not giving any solace or inspiration, whatever he wants. So artistic frustration. Andrea reflects on his artistic career. Despite his technical perfection, he feels unfulfilled. He compares himself to other Renaissance artists like Michelangelo, Raphael, and Leonardo da Vinci. So these are the great painters, acknowledging their flaws, but envying their passion and creativity. He realizes that his own lack of emotional depth has limited his artistic achievements. Even though they have some flaws in their skill, but they became popular. So now he feels jealous about them, their popularity and their creativity. But this person, he has a very good skill and he is losing confidence and emotion. Personal regret. Andrea reveals his regret over his life choices. He laments leaving France. So he left France, where he had the patronage of King Francis. So King Francis used to patronize very much. So now he left that place because of his wife to return to Florence with Lucrezia. He had hoped to find happiness and inspiration with her, but instead he feels trapped and uninspired. Relationship with Lucrezia. Andrea's relationship with Lucrezia is strained. He loves her deeply and has sacrificed much for her, including his career, financial stability, everything. However, she is indifferent and self centered, contributing to his sense of failure. He recognizes that she is not capable of providing the emotional support and inspiration he needs. Now he's started blaming his wife. Okay? And later he realizes self realization. So, throughout the monologue, Andrea comes to a painful self realization. He understands that his artistic limitations are not due to external factors, but are rooted in his own character. So, he is blaming here and there, he is criticizing, he is blaming his wife and his co artist and all that. Situations, circumstances, he is blaming his past and his decisions. But finally, he realizes that the problem lies in himself only. His desire for perfection has stifled his creativity, and his dependence on Lucrezia has left him personally and professionally unfulfilled. Rather than thinking and taking inspiration on himself, he is depending on somebody else. So that is his problem, he realized. The poem ends with Andrea resigning himself to his fate. He acknowledges that he will never achieve the greatness of his contemporaries. He accepts his life as it is, filled with unrealized potential and unfulfilled dreams. His final lines are a poignant mix of resignation and lingering hope that perhaps one day he might still create something of lasting value. So now he started blaming others. He stopped blaming others, and he started thinking that he will get a good time in his future. So themes include artistic struggle. The poem explores the conflict between technical skill and creative inspiration, highlighting the limitations of perfection without emotional depth. So here you need to understand human beings have limitations. Sometimes we cannot achieve what we want, even though we are extremely good, we are extremely talented, we work hard, but still we cannot reach our goal. So during that times, how we should take things into consideration, how we have to accept, how we should react, that we need to learn from this poem. So this poem gives a message that don't stop blaming the conditions, stop blaming others. Okay. So there are some things which you cannot do anything, because human beings are limited. We have limitations. So here he is highlighting the limitations of perfection without emotional depth. So unless and until you feel hard, you feel from it your heart. If you don't have emotions towards that profession or towards that thing, so you cannot expect perfection and completeness. So there is a difference between technical skill and creative inspiration. Maybe you might have technical skill, but if you don't have creativity or inspiration, then you cannot achieve the success. So personal sacrifice. Andrea's sacrifices for Lucrezia reveal the complexities of love and the impact of personal relationships on one's personal life. So, because he sacrificed everything, right? So, now he is in a position that he is not getting them back. So, he sacrificed, yet he is not satisfied. Yet he is not encouraged. Yet he is not welcomed. So he talks about personal relationships, unfulfilled potential. Andrea's reflections on his life underscore the theme of unrealized potential and the sorrow of knowing what could have been. So his potential is unfulfilled and he did not get success. So he mourns about that. How life is underscoring, how life is diminishing our attitude, our hope, our goals, our success. So self-realization, The monologue is a journey of self-awareness as Andrea confronts the truth about his limitations and the consequences of his choices. So it's a journey of self-awareness. So he started from his depression, his failure, his lack of emotive creativeness and all that. And he comparing himself with his colleagues, his friends. And later he's talking to his wife, but she's not responding. And he started blaming his wife. And he started realizing that he lost everything, his sacrifices, his loss of time and all that. So it's a journey of self-awareness. Finally, now he's come to a decision. Yes, I have to wait for that time. So I cannot do beyond more than my limitations. So there is a limit for everything. And now he is accepting his life as it is. Okay. And the truth about his limitations and the consequences of his choices. So once you have taken decision, you cannot change. Rather than it's better to accept the consequences. So the acceptance of the consequences and the life as it is gives you strength. That gives you hope actually. If we cannot believe, if we cannot accept what we have done and the consequences of the present that we are facing, we cannot ahead into the future. There would be no hope at all. So we should accept the consequence of our choice. So conclusion, Andrea Del Sarto is a poignant exploration of the inner life of an artist who, despite his technical prowess is a skill, it's a very good skill, and expertise. Prowess is expertise. Technical prowess feels a deep sense of unfulfillment. Browning's use of the dramatic monologue allows readers to intimately experience Andrea's emotional and psychological struggles. So this dramatic monologue, which is taken from Men and Women, mostly talks about the relationship between men and women, how marriages are going, what are the relations of men and women during that era, particularly in elite class, as well as in poor sections also. So he says that this reveals how a man is feeling, how a man is expecting from his wife, what he is expecting, a source of inspiration, a solace, so some emotional support he is expecting from his wife. Andrea's emotional and psychological struggles, making the poem a powerful meditation on art, love, and self-realization. Okay, so this is what we have to understand, and we have to explore the poem. So with this, or 19th unit also ends. Okay. So now, tell me if you have any doubts regarding with this. Do you hear me? Do you have any doubts?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear.
Yeah,
Yes,
please tell.
ma'am, you can hear. Yeah, it was so nice explanation, and we don't have any doubt. Thank you for your class, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. Are you following regularly? Have you attended the offline classes also?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, that's great. That's very
Yeah,
good.
I think, yeah, Kalpana, ma'am.
Yes.
No, Actually, I am from local, so I have attended most of the classes, even offline.
Okay.
And even these online classes are very much useful. Thank you for the class, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes. Thank you.
Madam, we want important questions to exam.
Important questions to exam. Yes. Some of the questions I have been posting in the group. Okay. And because the next week is our last week, I will definitely try to give you. Because many of you
Okay,
are
madam.
asking, you have been asking. But I'm very sorry. But initially, I shared in them in the group. I don't know whether you got them or not. Some aspects, some questions. Even yesterday, day before yesterday also, I have posted some questions in the group. But whatever, I'll try to share next week in all the
Ma'am,
units. Yeah.
ma'am, which group, ma'am?
They're maintaining a group like PG students, MA first year.
Ma'am, we are
Yes.
not part of the group, ma'am. Can you add us?
So do one thing,
Last time also.
you just share your numbers here in the chat.
Yeah, ma'am, sure. Last time also I shared, but not yet.
Actually, I
Ma'am,
don't
No,
know
madam, in college.
who is managing the group. I don't know.
ma'am, if
So
you could help with the link, WhatsApp link, that would be helpful, ma'am. Why?
Yeah.
Because getting all the numbers you need to name. It's an online live classes, no, ma'am.
yeah, yes. Can you wait for 1 second?
Yeah, ma'am. Ma'am, one more thing.
Yeah.
We have already completed assignments. If
Mm-hmm.
you could help with those questions, a short description about those question answers, it would be helpful, ma'am. It's just you can take a quick recap on that.
But I don't know where they are
Uh,
available.
we have those questions, ma'am. Actually, we have submitted our assignments,
Yeah,
but
yeah. But
still,
we couldn't see them until the process is done, one thing. And we are
okay.
not given access to the questions because only student is accessible. You are accessible to view your
No, ma'am.
question.
We can ask you, no, ma'am. We can ask you, like if I mention a question, then you can just give a quick, short description on that, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Sure then. Would you like to tell me?
Now, next week, anyhow, it's last class, no, ma'am. So
Yeah.
we will come next week if it is possible. We will take all those things and we'll ask you, ma'am.
Okay then. So just ask them on Saturday.
Sure, ma'am. Sure. Okay.
I'll go through them and I'll let you know.
Sure, ma'am. Sure.
If
Okay.
they are very easy, if of there is no need for explanation, then we can do immediately. If they need
Okay.
some explanation, we can do it on Sunday. Okay.
Yes,
First,
ma'am.
let
Yes.
me know your questions on Saturday.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
You please make note of them, and
Mm-hmm.
and you just let me know.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Okay then. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Yes, yes.
Ma'am, our exams are scheduled for August. So
Mm-hmm.
after we are done with the exams, we are done with the first year. That's it, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously,
So the next year classes, when will they start, ma'am?
they'll give you intimation. They'll inform you so that you will be receive books and you'll come to classes, offline classes and online classes. Same.
Okay, but it will be next year, Jan or sometime like that, no, ma'am,
Yes,
not
yes,
this year.
yes. Yeah, yeah. Not in this year.
Okay, ma'am. Thank
Okay,
you.
okay. Thank you.
Madam, you send in important questions in college group, madam, because some members are not coming now, class, online classes.
Yes, yes. That's what actually I'm. So you have next class, right? You're
Yeah,
going
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
next class.
Ma'am, now also offline classes are there for locals.
No, no.
It's completed.
Yeah. Only
Okay.
8 weeks online classes and 8 weeks offline classes.
Okay, offline 8 weeks and this one online 8 weeks, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.